One reason why John Adams. Having been a school teacher, working in other districts, one thing that I appreciate about John Adams is that we explore the classical education. And being a philosophy major, this has been a really nice treat for me because we really do get to dive deep into this idea of Socratic discussion. And if we look at some of the greats within philosophy, Socrates himself, this was something that Plato mentions is crucial in really how do we derive knowledge from our scholars. In this sense, we're really trying to engage them in a stimulating conversation to pull knowledge. Socrates and Plato would call this birthing knowledge. We're like the midwife, really trying to birth knowledge forward from our scholars through these great conversations. And in order to have great conversations, we need to read really engaging text. Not just an engaging book that maybe we would pick up and read, once a night. We're talking about something that stands the test of time, because those books are going to leave us full of rich discussion in which we can pull fantastic conversation off of a great discussion. In my classroom, we've had phenomenal discussions that I would say would be on par with podcasting that you would hear on the internet. We've talked about things like inflation. We've talked about getting down to the nature of mankind through great conversation. And our scholars love these conversations. These are not conversations that they're trying to shy away from or maybe feel a little timid or scared by the subject, but they're really diving into these concepts. What is it that makes us human? What is virtue? What is the good? We really try to explore these questions deeply as we explore classics. For example, in 6th grade, we look at the Trojan War and we look at, for example, what makes up a hero? What character traits do we want to see from heroes? What virtues do we see from heroes? And is mankind perfect? Maybe that there are vices, and deeply exploring that which makes good characters stand the test of time, like Odysseus. This is what's key to us when we say classical education. Our goal is not just to produce great scholars. Our goal is to produce great citizens. And in order to produce great citizens, we need to dive in great conversations. We need to go beyond the surface. That's when we go down with the Socratic discussion and we really deeply talk about these concepts, topics, and themes. I'm actually coming from Sacramento City County. I worked with Sacramento School District. I was part of Sac City Union. I worked in Title I schools. I taught at Martin Luther King K through 8 for a year as a first grade teacher. I've also taught at charter schools in Sacramento. I taught at a school called Yahweh Shu Academy. And so I've taught in various school districts. I was also a sub for Sacramento, Rockland, and Folsom. So I've been to several different schools. I've had very unique experiences, but I feel a lot of them are close to the idea of why we educate our scholars, but they don't truly have that. Here, we know exactly why we're educating our scholars. It's to make great citizens, because our democracy depends on great citizens. One thing that always comes up with veteran teachers I've talked about in other school districts is the idea is we're trying to get scholars to critically think. And you're absolutely right, or they're absolutely right. We are trying to get scholars to critically think, but there's a reason for that. It's because we need them to engage in their civic duty. They need to be engaged with the process of our governance. They cannot just stand back. They have to be an active member. If our democracy, if our republic is going to survive, then we need citizens to engage in the process. That is the purpose of education. It's to get scholars to critically think so that they can engage in their civic duty, because it is our duty, and we have to take that with a lot of seriousness as American citizens. By the end of a 6th grade school year, as a 6th grade teacher, what I'm looking for competency with discussion. Can scholars pose great questions about a text? Can they think critically about a great text? Can they dive into philosophical questions about what is virtue and where they see virtue in characters they study? In terms of something really unique to John Adams, we also look at memorization. We call it memoria. We're looking at scholars analyzing great poems, great songs that are fundamental to our national heritage, memorizing those pieces, reciting them, and even performing them. We're also looking at something unique, our cursive. We expect 90% of our scholars by the end of 6th grade to be at a 90% cursive level, which means they should be able to write a 5-paragraph essay about a page complete in cursive. Finally, for our math standards, we're looking at scholars not just to understand how to do operations. So many books look at how do scholars put numbers together. We're looking more deeply at the reasons why. And that's what's crucial to our approach with mathematics. It's not just about computation and solving, but it's understanding how numbers fit together, how these operations are crucial to the society that we are in. So by the time that our 6th graders leave our 6th grade program, they are not only competent and ready for 7th grade, but they understand their bigger role in this picture as they get their civic education along with their academic education here at John Adams Academy. So recently, my wife and I made the decision for our daughter to attend John Adams Academy. And this was a very tough decision because she had started another school and we thought about her finishing at the school that she started. However, what I realized was the quality of the education she was receiving at her neighborhood school does not match the quality of the education that scholars get at John Adams Academy. And the simple truth is, it's the classics that we are studying that you do not see in other school districts that provide that rich conversation, the ability to go into our topics and themes and really get our scholars to really think about what is virtue, what is right, what is the good. And that is something that I want my daughter to be able to tackle as she grows and gets older and moves through the grades. I want her to be developed into a citizen, not just a critically thinking individual, but I want her to have an appreciation of our national heritage and really come through as a citizen who understands and performs her civic duty. You know, it was really interesting. My wife and I were really having this conversation about my daughter, about what is the purpose of education for her. One reason why we chose John Adams Academy is because here really what we are looking at is to have a great democracy, a great republic. We really need to think deeply about subject, content, and matter. In order to govern, we need to have great statesmen that really explore these philosophical issues, that become great philosophers so that they can give great judgment. And this was crucial in the sense of why we stand behind the mission of John Adams Academy. We stand behind great citizens who become great statesmen who can govern wisely and showcase this virtue so that their society can emulate that, so that we can, through this modeling, become a great nation, a great country.